All right, so let's get this going, and welcome to this presentation called Animation Workflow using the 3ds Max Entertainment Creation Suite tools. And my name is Louis Marcoux. I'm a solution specialist for Autodesk Canada, and I have a blog on the area. If you never visited my blog, I post a lot of videos there, tips and tricks on 3ds Max, Motion Builder, Composite, and a few more tools like Motion Match Mover and things like that. So that's who I am, and I've got a big presentation today. We've got a lot of things to cover, so I'll jump right into it. As you probably know, at Autodesk, we do develop multiple tools, and here's a list of some of them for a games pipeline. And this slide is taken from a presentation we did a few weeks ago on different pipelines, and I thought this was a good representation of how we address multiple pipeline section or aspect of a pipeline with different tools at Autodesk. So same thing can be done for a film pipeline and motion graphics pipeline and things like that. So I took the games pipeline because I thought it covered a lot of different aspects like modeling, animation. We've got a bit of texture editing as well, and we've got some new tools that we've added recently with Beast and Turtle, and that's worth taking a look at that if you visit the Autodesk website. But today, what we're going to do, we're going to take just going to take a look at a few aspects of a pipeline. As you can see, this again is taken from a games pipeline, but there's a lot of things that happen in the pipeline. And what we're going to do today, we're going to really focus on the animation aspect. So we're going to talk about mostly the pipeline or the interop workflow between if you have motion capture or if you have different types of rigs that you have animation for, how to deal with all of this animation data and how to bring it from one rig to the other. So that's the goal of today's presentation. And in order to do this, this is my agenda for today. The first thing we're going to take a look is the general interop workflow to the 3ds Max Entertainment Creation Suite. So for animation, we're going to refocus on 3ds Max animation and Motion Builder animation. So the interop between the two. And in 3ds Max, we have multiple animation solutions. So we have, for example, the biped. So we're going to see how to send a biped to Motion Builder, do the magic in Motion Builder, and bring it back to 3ds Max on the same biped. We also have CAT that has been added fully since Max 2011. So we're going to see how to bring a CAT rig to Motion Builder and bring it back to and bring the animation back from Motion Builder onto the CAT rig. We're going to also take a look at if you're using custom rig in 3ds Max, if you're using Maxbone mostly, how to go from a custom rig to Motion Builder back to Max. And so those are the three solutions we're going to take a look at. In the end, I'm going to show you a few extra resources, a few things to try if you are into this type of animation workflow, and I'm going to give you some information of where you can find more information about the subjects that are covered today. And you'll see that the webinar, and I wanted to say that at the beginning, is really geared towards technical animators. So if you're a pure animator, you'll get some of good information out of that. But it's going to be really technical in terms of we're going to see how to deal with animation data. So I think it's a very important subject. And if we want to talk about pure animation, we should do a different webinar. So it's a bit geared toward technical animators, but I'm not going too deep into the terminology and the constraint and scripting and all of that. I'm just going to show you the workflow and the basics of the workflow. So you can stay tuned until the end. If you are less technical, I think you're going to get a lot out of it as well, because you'll know what's possible with all the tools that are inside of the 3ds Max Entertainment Creation Suite. Throughout the presentation, you've got a dialog box on your screen called Q&A. So I strongly suggest that you put some questions there, and we're going to try to answer them as we go through the presentation. I've got a few of my colleagues with me today that will help answering questions on different aspects of what we're going to talk about today. So that's the idea. Let's jump into it. So like I said, in 3ds Max, we've got different animation tools. There's multiple approaches to character animation in 3ds Max. There are three fundamental animation tool set. There's the biped that has been there for a very long time. There's also what I call custom rig. So it's anything that you do by yourself by using constraint and or max bones, or anything that you rig yourself is what I call a custom rig. And we have since Max 2011 the character animation toolkit called CAT. So when we refer to CAT, that means character animation toolkit. That has just been introduced in Max 2011. And all of these three solutions have their own advantage, and they have their own. They target a very particular type of solution for character animation. For biped, it's a one-click rig. So if you click one time inside of 3ds Max, you've got a full bipedal character rigged, ready to animate right away. So it's a one-click rig. It's very easy to create, and that's probably the reason why it's the most used rig on the planet right now, because multiple game companies have used it. Broadcast graphics as well, they use it for character creation. It's been there for quite a long time, and a lot of people used it because it's easy to use, and it's an FK-IK solution. It has a lot of tools for character animation. It's there, people know it, so it's used a lot. So that's the biped rig. If you use custom rig, that I mentioned it a bit before, it's when you manually rig something inside of 3ds Max. There's a lot of tools available with constraints, position constraint, orientation constraint, script controllers, wire parameters, reaction controllers. All of these tools are there to help you rig your character and manually define how your rig will work. And it's very powerful, very flexible, but it needs a little bit more of practice in order to be able to work with custom rigs. And another thing is that we have, when you use Max Bones or custom rig, we've got a tool called the motion mixer, and also the load and save animation tools that allow you to mix animation clips together when they are on custom rig, and also to bring animation from one rig to another. But like I said, those are very technical tools. So if you're really good into character rigging, you're probably going to build your own custom rig, and that's probably going to be using the Max Bones, and since anything in Max can be a bone by itself, which is kind of unique to 3ds Max, you can pretty much use any object that you want inside of Max to create your own custom rig. What is Character Animation Toolkit? So it's a new tool for 3ds Max, and basically what it does, it's a set of limbs that you can connect together to create characters. So it allows you to create very complex rig very fast and very easily. So you can add arms, spine, legs, tails, and extra bones and things like that. And there's even a muscle system in there that you can attach to bones as well. So it's very easy to create from these different pieces complex character rig that already have FK-IK blending, procedural walk cycles and things like that. So like I said, it's very flexible, and there's a procedural walk cycle. In biped, there's a procedural walk cycle as well, but in Character Animation Toolkit in CAT, the procedural walk cycle, you can adjust the attitude, so you can create the attitude of the character, the swing, the bend of the arm. So you can adjust all of these things on procedural curves, which allows you to change the look of and the attitude of your character into this procedural and loopable walk cycle. So it's a very good way to get an animation going when you start with a new animation with CAT. To have character walking inside of your scene. So those are the three animation system inside of Max. And you'll probably say, well, why would I need more animation tools than that if I've got all of these tools inside of 3ds Max? So we have also Motion Builder inside of the Creation Suite, and there's very good reasons for Motion Builder to be in the suite. So the reason why you would go to Motion Builder in itself is that, first of all, Motion Builder is programmed or coded exactly like a game engine. So it's made to be real-time 3D character animation. So what we mean by real-time is that you can have multiple characters inside of Motion Builder interacting, and it's all playback in real time. So it's a really good way to test your animations, see how they work, and all of that. Motion Builder is used in film and games pipeline. So if you think of a movie like Avatar, where everything has been done virtually, Motion Builder was a big part of that pipeline. So Motion Builder is real time. It allows real time adjustments of anything in the scene, and it's really good for animation playback. But essentially, Motion Builder is there to work with character animation data. So either you want to create that character animation, edit, playback in real time, but the idea is that you can see the result right away, and it's going to be playing back in real time. So that kind of workflow is good for for if you have a lot of animation to deal with. If you got if you're doing a character pipeline, for example, for a game, you've got multiple animations to deal with. So Motion Builder is really good to play with a lot of animation files and have them work and edit them together and all of that. So also, because of the real-time aspect of Motion Builder, if you're doing any type of virtual production, like virtual cinematography, you can adjust in real time the characters, the position of characters, the position of cameras. You can cut from cameras to cameras. So it's really great for virtual cinematography and also pre-visualization of movies. But the best thing about Motion Builder is the fact that it can capture performance of actors coming from external device in real time and apply it to characters. So it's a tool of choice when you have live data coming inside of a computer and you want to map it onto a character and see how these input or data input will be mapped onto the character in real time. So if you got a character playing, an actor playing a character inside of a motion capture environment, in real time you'll be able to see it in Motion Builder. So it's the tool of choice for capturing performance from actors. But in the case of what we have today is that Motion Builder needs to be seen as an animation hub based around FBX. And the idea is that you can input data into it, you can do live performance capture, you can edit character animation in real time and all of that. But all of this data is working around FBX. So you can bring in an FBX file or an FBX character, map animation onto it, and send it back as an FBX file. And since FBX is used everywhere, Motion Builder is your animation hub to bring animation from a system and put it on another system. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to see how to bring different rigs inside of Motion Builder, apply animation to them, and send them back to their original application. But once the characters have been understood by Motion Builder, they can be sent to any other application because it's based around FBX. So Motion Builder is your central tool for retargeting animation and things like that. So that's what Motion Builder is all about. But the workflow around Motion Builder is very particular, and we need to understand what Motion Builder is all about. Motion Builder is centralized around the idea of a character. So we always work with characters inside of Motion Builder. So what we do is we have an FBX file coming from any source you want. So if in our case today it's going to be 3ds Max, and we'll handle the three cases where you have biped, you've got a custom rig, and you also have a cat character. So but everything happens through the FBX file. So you save your character inside of an FBX file. And what you get inside of Motion Builder from that FBX files is the bones, the hierarchy of the bones. You don't, because of the Motion Builder aspect of a character, when we bring FBX file, we don't have the rig inside of it. We just have the bone definition and the forward kinematics animation. So FBX doesn't bring constraints and scripting and all of that. It just brings the FK animation with the hierarchy and the skin bone. And of course, if you got a skin mesh with textures and all of that, it's also going to come in with FBX as well. But we've got those bones, the hierarchy, the skin mesh, and if you have animation, it's always going to be FK animation inside of FBX file. So that's how we're going to deal inside of Motion Builder. This central node here is what we're going to deal with in Motion Builder. It's not when we bring it as bone hierarchy and skin mesh and FK animation. Motion Builder doesn't know that it's a character. So to be able to take advantage of all of the animation tool, we need to define the character aspect of all of this, and we're going to talk about that in a few seconds. But once you've got your animated bones inside of Motion Builder, when everything has been animated, what you do is you bake everything to FK animation and you send it back to an FBX file. And inside of this FBX file, what we're going to get is, again, our animation data, and we can send it back to the original application. So the workflow that we're going to talk about today a lot is we're going to export an FBX file out of 3ds Max containing the bones, the hierarchy, the skin mesh in some cases, and animation or no animation. We bring that FBX file into Motion Builder. We're going to animate it in Motion Builder, and then we're going to send back the animation as an FBX file. And the workflow with Motion Builder, what's great about this workflow is that in the final FBX file, you can just save the animation. So when we bring it back inside of 3ds Max, we only care about the animation data, which is great. But inside of Motion Builder, like I said, the whole aspect of Motion Builder is centralized around the idea of a character. And a character, there's a process called characterization for your bones. When you bring the bones inside of Motion Builder, the bones are kind of, they don't mean anything to Motion Builder. So what you do is you characterize them. And characterize mean it's a wrapper that Motion Builder will understand, and it will know that these bones corresponds to the arm, these bones correspond to the hand, those bones corresponds to the leg, and this bone corresponds to the spine and neck and all of that. So you take your bones that you bring inside of Motion Builder and you tell it those bones are which limb they correspond to in a human character. So that's the process of characterization. And when that character is done, when Motion Builder understands your bone hierarchy and everything as a character, that's where you can feed it with anything that you want. So that if you want to animate inside of Motion Builder, you're going to create a control rig, which is the full body IK rig in most cases, and you're going to feed this the control rig as to the character, and the character will take care of handling the bones data. So when you're working on a control rig, you're creating an animation, and because Motion Builder understands it as a character, it knows how to animate the bones, which is great because it's a very simple workflow to create a rig for your bones, and it's a full body IK rig that we're going to show you inside of the presentation. The other thing is you can have a live actor performing on stage, on a motion capture stage, and as the character performs, you can feed that data into the character, and the bones will be animated accordingly. So because the character is understood by Motion Builder, it knows how to interpret the live actor data, and you can see your character being animated in real time in Motion Builder. And what's great about that as well is that any other character that is understood by Motion Builder, it doesn't have to be a live performance actor, it can be any other character, you can feed it into your character and it's going to animate the bones accordingly. So all of these sources can be feeding the character, and the bones will be animated based on the character definition. So that means that if you've got a character coming from Softimage, from Maya, or from CAT, one system that you want to put onto, from 3ds Max, like a CAT rig, and you want to bring it onto a biped rig, all of this is possible because you can feed any character animation into any other character inside of Motion Builder. And in the end, we're going to export an FBX file and we're going to load it back onto our character. So that's the introduction to the workflow. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the practical, and I'm going to show you the three cases: the biped, the cat, and the custom rig. So we're going to see how to deal with all of these types of rig, send them to Motion Builder, animate in Motion Builder, and bring back the animation to 3ds Max. So I've taken enough time into PowerPoint, so let's get into the practical of everything that I've just explained.